Over these past few days, a lot more information has come out about the arrest of Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt. 911 calls have been released, there's been multiple court appearances, lawyers have spoken out, and a major accusation has been made. There's a lot to go over, so let's get into it. Ruby and Jodi have been in jail for nearly 2 weeks now, and there's been a lot of new information being released almost daily. The one thing that's been on everyone's mind is, where was the dad Kevin Franke in all of this? Right now, everything is very heavily focused on Ruby since she's the one that was arrested, but at one point, Kevin himself was also very deep into connections. Over the years of 8 Passengers being on YouTube, we've watched both Ruby and Kevin go from being what some would classify as strict religious parents who still love their family to meeting Jodi and going off the deep end. They went from being parents who were on the stricter side to something much, much darker. Kevin was very much involved with this behavior for a while, and that's why people are so concerned about the possibility of Kevin getting custody. Kevin did end up distancing himself from connections, and eventually we completely stopped seeing him. There's been rumors for the last year or so about Kevin moving out and taking the older son with him, but it's all been speculation. People have just been wondering how things got to this point without Kevin ever noticing. Kevin's attorney actually spoke out on his behalf to News Nation, and he's claiming Kevin was not in the house and knew nothing. News Nation wrote, Randy Kester, the attorney for Kevin Franke, denied the children's father had any role, saying he was not living in the house where the alleged mom had the kids for the summer and went out of the county with the kids. And if he had known or thought there was going on, he would have been all over it. The alleged happened in a house that was a couple 100 miles away from where Mr. Franke was.
Kevin Franke's lawyer, Randy Kester, joins us now. Did your client have a role in the behavior that's now being charged?
Absolutely not.
How? When he's the father and he was in the house, how did he not know and not do anything about it?
Mom had the kids for the summer and went out of the county with the kids.
But here's the thing that's not really adding up. KSL reported that things have been going on in the Franke home for quite some time now. Apparently, neighbors have made calls to police on multiple different occasions. KSL wrote, neighbors and an older sibling called authorities to Ruby Franke's Springville home to try and get help for several children in 2022, according to police records obtained by KSL investigators Wednesday. The records show police responded to the home more than a dozen times during the last 4.5 years. Several of those visits were related to concerns about the children's well-being. So you can see why people are so afraid about Kevin going for custody. I mean, all we can really hope for is that Kevin finally saw the error of his ways and has done the work to change, and maybe that's why he left the family home, but still. Hopefully some kind of investigation happens before any decision is made. As for Ruby, she appeared in court twice last week. Her first court appearance was pertaining to the custody of her 4 kids, and according to Daily Mail, 2 of Ruby's older children were present for the hearing with their own attorney, as well as Kevin with his attorney. Now, during this hearing, Ruby made some pretty shocking claims. Instead of, maybe taking some responsibility for what she's done, she tried to turn this whole thing around on her own children. Now, before I tell you what was reported by Daily Mail, I just wanted to give a disclaimer that literally the only place I found reporting this is Daily Mail. I haven't seen any official court documents or any major news outlets reporting on this court appearance besides Daily Mail. I know a lot of people don't feel comfortable using Daily Mail as a source, but they are a pretty big news outlet and they are the ones reporting this right now. So use that information to give yourself whatever validity you feel appropriate to this information. She tried to say that 2 of her younger children were hurting each other, and then eventually went on to hurt other children in the neighborhood and within their own family. It was reported that the court went completely silent after she made those claims. Since Ruby made those claims in court, the judge had no choice but to demand the child Ruby made those allegations against be placed in a home with no other children. I just think this is so sick. Ruby is behind bars right now, and this is the first time in her whole life that she hasn't had complete control over what her kids are doing. This is her way of trying to regain some kind of control behind bars. She knew that if she said that, her kids would all be split up and separated, and she probably loves that. She probably doesn't want them talking, and this is her way of punishing her son for getting help. I'm guessing this is a story that both Ruby and Jodi are sticking to, because when Jodi was arrested, she made a statement saying that those children should never be allowed around any other kids. I just think this is their way of either trying to get some control back behind bars or trying to punish the kids for actually reaching out and getting help. During the court hearing, Ruby also tried to claim that one of her children was watching things that they shouldn't have been watching at the age of 3. Ruby has made so many countless videos about how she doesn't allow screen time, how she doesn't allow her kids to complete homework that needs to be done on a computer. How could what she's saying even be possible living in that household with her? If anything, everything Ruby is saying is just making her look even worse. Does she think the court is going to be like, oh, we're sorry, we totally understand why they were malnourished and locked up in Jodi's house, you're free to go? No. Why were there no reports made about this behavior if it's true? Why is Ruby apparently the only one with knowledge of this? How could any of this even happen if they were supposed to be under Ruby's supervision and care? I think this was just her way of trying to control and punish her kids even while she's behind bars, which is just so messed up. The next hearing was for the 6 charges brought against both Ruby and Jodi. The court appearance happened over video, and because of state laws, the judge actually had to ask the appearance not to be live streamed or recorded. There were tons of people trying to get access to the online courtroom, and it ended up getting messy quick. People were getting kicked out, and it ended up being majorly delayed. Both Ruby and Jodi's appearances were very short, and they were pretty much just a formality. Ruby appeared in a yellow jumpsuit, and KUTV made it into the courtroom and reported on the hearing, writing, Franke, it turned out, was in attendance after all, appearing via webcam, either from or having come directly from the medical block at the correctional facility. The judge ordered that Franke will be held without bail. The question of whether she be released on her own recognizance surfaced earlier this week when the court assessment was filed that recommended she be released and monitored pending trial. Her next hearing is set for September 21st. It wasn't immediately clear why Franke had been moved to the medical block. Neither the court spokesperson nor her attorney had released any statements regarding the media as of 3 p.m. Mountain Time Friday. Jodi's appearance was right after Ruby, and she was also held without bail. Apparently, she has this really well-known good attorney on her case who's trying to get her out sooner than later, but as for now, her next hearing is also set for September 21st, which means Ruby and Jodi are going to be locked up for quite some time. This whole entire case is just so sad, especially since we've watched this all unfold over the years and knew in our guts that something was not right. We saw Ruby's behavior evolve into something terrifying right before our eyes. The 911 call made before Ruby and Jodi's arrest was also released, and it's extremely telling of what's been going on. You could tell the neighbor knew of Jodi, and he knew that she was trouble, and he was even stressing to the operator just how much of an emergency situation this was. The caller was getting really emotional over the state of this boy, and it was extremely hard to listen to. I think this is going to be a very long legal process, and right now, I'm sure we only know the surface of what's been happening with that family. All we can hope for is that justice is actually served to these two. What they've alleged to have done is completely unimaginable, and if convicted, Ruby and Jodi need to go away for a very long time for it. There's so much wrong here. This case truly makes me feel sick to my stomach, and I can't wait for the day that they finally face some real consequences. Right now, the next hearing for both Ruby and Jodi is set for the 21st, so we're gonna have to wait until then to find out the potential for bail. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below, and I'll see you next time.